Hey, all you battle-hardened warriors out there, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm here to talk about Dragon Ball Super Broly. His power is maximum, and his character development is existent. I loved this movie, and I will be talking about nothing but spoilers because if you are on the internet and you haven't seen this movie yet, you're just asking for trouble. But let's get to it. I want to start this off by saying I love the adaptation of Dragon Ball Minus, though I do prefer to a certain degree Bardock, father of Goku. This backstory did a lot to flesh out the Saiyan civilization. Sorry, I say words good. More beyond just they were a bunch of dicks, because there's camaraderie, there's closeness, there's they're together and they get to know each other, and they have moments that just make you think that maybe there was something wrong with Raditz, Nappa, and the rest, because some of them are kind of dicks and some of them are not. Maybe that's just the way of some of the more elite class, but it's really hard to say. And even Gine points this out when Bardock talks about sending their son away, because Bardock has good intuition that we see during the start of this. He immediately knows something is up when Frieza recalls all the Saiyans back to their homeworld. And he knows that Frieza's probably, since he's been asking about the legendary Super Saiyan, he's probably planning to just wipe them all out and be done with it. Because they have enough, Frieza's forces have enough control that they could actually do without the Saiyans. So he, talks with Gine. They have this wonderful little moment. I loved actually getting to see Gine animated and just doing things. Not a fighter, but a very caring personality. That's why she works as a meat cutter. It's just an easier job for her as someone who's not really into combat and all that good stuff. But, it was so interesting to see all of this. And just the relationship, the glimpses of a relationship that we actually got to see for these characters. And honestly, it was kind of sad too, because there's this moment where I think it was Gine had talked about, hey Kakarot, don't forget about us. And he ultimately does. And there's this weird juxtaposition between the backstory and the actual main story, because there's so much detail and depth and characterization and all this, only for a lot of it to kind of be pushed to the side once we get to the real meat and potatoes of this movie, which is the showdown with Broly. But it was pretty good. I still prefer the Broly movie, the Bardock movie, as I said. But as a whole, it was just nice to get a little time with the Saiyan race, honestly. We just don't see enough of it, and I'm glad we got so much of it here. And we even had because the time difference between when they send away Kakarot and when the Saiyan homeworld is destroyed, there's at least a month passes. As far as from what I remember, it was like a month or so passes. So I guess some elements of the Bardock stuff could have happened, maybe just to a looser degree. You never know, but to a certain degree that's kind of been retconned out. Might exist in the Xeno timeline of Goku, maybe. Because those are treated like two different timelines. The stuff that leads into GT is one timeline, and the stuff that leads into Super is kind of treated as the divergent timeline for the most part. So just kind of think of it like that if you prefer the Bardock special. I also I should talk about the involvement of Beerus and Whis, because while Whis has a few moments to take on Broly, it's very brief, very minor, just to show the difference between, whereas Goku and Vegeta are struggling to take on Broly, Whis, doesn't even throw a punch, but he's dodging and maneuvering around Broly like he's nothing, showing the real depths of the power that Whis truly has. But Beerus is pretty much altogether kept out of it, which to a certain degree might be for the best, because I feel like with what this movie was going for, having Beerus just come in and annihilate Broly, or at least go against Broly and possibly decide that Broly's too dangerous, I could easily see Beerus trying to destroy Broly. So that might have been for the best that he wasn't included. I think it was interesting because Bulma leaves Bra or Bulla with Beerus, and it seems like they got along pretty well. It's kind of fascinating that Beerus ended up actually being a pretty decent babysitter for the most part. So that's a little cute aside there. But Broly is just so fearsome during the course of this movie. Very much on par with his previous self in terms of ferocity and the uncontrollable nature. But the depths of his personality, his heart and soul, they've done so much to just give him a bit of an upgrade, a boost if you were. Because he, his quieter moments, unlike in his original appearances where he's treated more like a force of nature rather than anything else. This character who, once he gets going acts like, oh, I'm the devil, I'm a demon, I will destroy you. And it just, when you first see Broly during his original appearance, he's very docile, he's tame, he doesn't seem like someone who actually cares too much about fighting or anything like that. It's the Goku angle that gets him going, which is, as most people have already stated, isn't a good angle. It doesn't make any sense. So eliminating that, you get a more docile version of Broly who isn't like all about fighting, but he's just been raised by Paragus all this time to be an agent of revenge to some point and to fulfill his true potential for the most part. And honestly, Broly's combat, he's very rough, it's outright stated that he doesn't have too much combat experience, but during the course of things, he learns that as he fights, he grows, he adapts, and man, it's a good thing he doesn't have God Ki or anything like that, because it would be too much. And so another aside that I want to put in there is the fact that Broly, to a certain degree, his power kind of harkens to Super Saiyan 4 to a certain degree. Because, as Paragus explains, a lot of the power-ups and abilities that he starts to display, it's almost as if he's channeling the Ozaru form into himself, even though his tail was cut off because Paragus, felt that Broly in certain situations was too much of a danger. And so, he cuts off his tail, but Broly's still somehow channeling all that energy. And they don't outright say it, but, there's that implication that there's blood sways because they were so close to this very prominent moon. So that might also play a part in the energy that Broly lets off. And Broly, as he grows and adapts, he's in base and he's actually holding his own against, up to Super Saiyan God, and then he goes into his powered up form, which is very fearsome and powerful. But then once he goes into his Super Saiyan form, not legendary Super Saiyan, but just Super Saiyan form, they can't really stop him. And it's only when he goes full legendary Super Saiyan that he just becomes this unwieldy, unstable beast. And there's the hints of the green hair in both Vegeta and Goku during certain moments when they're transforming, showing that there's this, the power lies within all of them. There's always this hint that the same powers that Broly has, there's the potential in Vegeta and Goku. At least that's what I felt, because they very deliberately colored Goku and Vegeta green and when they were powering up in certain situations, that I felt was a nod to the fact that, this power exists within all these Saiyans. Now, if only Gohan would, put a little of that into things. But man, the action was intense during the course of this movie. A lot of fluid animation. The animation style shifted a lot during the course of this too. But that's because they shoved so much of the action towards the back end of this movie. So you had, 2D animation. I love this moment where you were like first person Broly just beating the shit out of Goku. That was fun. That was just fun to see. The only unfortunately, really jarring moment was when they cut to 3D, which the 3D animation wasn't bad, but it was just like, it was Dragon Ball FighterZ degrees of animation, which again, not bad, but it was so obviously 3D, especially when like certain things shattered and they would segment in a way that was very obviously 3D. Like stuff would only shatter that way if it was a 3D model, a preset course of, ways of how it works and stuff like that, and how the characters moved and things of that nature. So that kind of took me out for a second because I'm just like, oh, Jesus. And you saw that a little bit throughout the course of all of this. There's even a moment where Goku and Vegeta are charging up to fire on Broly. It was not bad, but it just, when the art shifted, you could very much tell, and it was just like, it took you a moment to just kind of reacclimate yourself back to what was going on, at least for me, for the most part. It was also fun seeing in the flashback all the various forces of Frieza all together, and even seeing that the transition of power from King Cold to Frieza himself, because King Cold readily handed the reins over to Frieza because he outright was just like, oh, my son's a lot more powerful than myself. Might as well give him command. Because King Cold was just, very much fine with just sitting back and letting his son do all the work. He was ready, willing, and eager to go at it. I also love the introduction of the scouter technology, and it's treated like, yes, we already had that kind of technology beforehand. It was just improved upon by a character called, I think it was Kikono, one of the yellow creatures who was retconned into being there from the very beginning, which I also thought was very nice. Just Frieza having these two characters, because Frieza just has characters who he gives a pass to. Certain characters he will kill without hesitation. Other characters he gives a pass to just because he enjoys their company. And that's, I think, the character Kikono and Berry Blue, who even says something that was very, under normal circumstances, would have gotten a character killed by Frieza. But she almost got a complete free pass from Frieza, despite the fact that she said something that I would have thought would have been very insulting to Frieza. But it was just so nice to see the Frieza Force all together, Zarbon, Dodoria, and the Ginyu Force just coming in and doing their thing. They didn't do too much, but it was just nice seeing them. A little bit of fan service that didn't even truly need to be included because it didn't add anything. It was just good to see and have shown. And Frieza himself, he was fun. He's kind of become like this very much background malevolent figure, knowing that he doesn't really truly want to get involved because he has this second chance at life, but he's not unwilling to just take pot shots at our heroes from a distance and just cause them trouble from time to time. I've heard some people say they don't much care for it because he ends up like a Team Rocket villain, but no, I feel like the threat he poses is a little bit more than that. Just kind of like, if I had to really describe it as anything, what's a good comparison that's not too over? I mean, it's very much like, Thanos in, Marvel Comics. He comes in, he does his thing, he causes a lot of problem, and then he's sent away, or he's imprisoned, or he's trapped, or he's defeated, and he has no choice but to retreat, or something along those lines. Or better yet, Doctor Doom. Yeah, Doctor Doom, that's it. He has the power, he has the skills and the cunning, but he knows when it's time to just back off and live to fight another day. And I love the wish he wanted to make, where he's just like, I want to be 5 centimeters taller, which was treated as very much a joke, but it's just like, oh, he's actually serious about this. And he even makes the comment, it's just like, I only want 5 centimeters because I want people to think I'm still growing, which I love the pettiness of it all, because he's asked, do you want immortality? And he's like, no, because my time in hell taught me that living too long just drives you to madness. And it's just like, how about invulnerability? But Frieza having actually been getting his hands dirty more often, it's just like, well, there's no fun in that. Half the fun of battle is just being hurt and stuff along those lines. So it shows that Frieza has been influenced to a certain degree by Goku himself in how he carries himself, which I think is just so fun. Frieza, just having him out there is a very interesting angle. Now that we have the Galactic Patrol being a little bit more prominent, I like to see them a little bit more in opposition, and even have someone come out that can kind of be this staved off force to Frieza himself. Recently in the Dragon Ball Super manga, a character along those lines might have been revealed who could actually maybe go toe to toe with Frieza and just give him a hard time as Frieza tries to continue his planetary conquest and all that good stuff. So we'll just have to see later down the line. But I don't mind this dynamic. Frieza's one of the most fun villains to bring back from time to time. I figure, why not just keep him around? Although I would think at this point he'd make a wish to bring back his subordinates, just to actually have people he could rely on, because, not so much rely on, because they ended up dying, but so did you, Frieza. So, bring back the Ginyu Force, Zarbon, Dodoria, all that good stuff. Just to kind of get some stronger blood in his army, because it's very much pointed out that he doesn't have capable warriors, and he's kind of started killing some of them because of that. And that's why he has the big recruitment drive going on, sending out people to search for strong warriors. And that's how he ends up having Broly brought to him as one of his new minions. And that kind of backfires, especially when Broly's going berserk and Frieza ends up caught in the crossfire and just being beaten up by Broly for like a solid hour in movie. And it's just like, Jesus, Frieza. It was just so fun. Frieza's so entertaining, and I love that they're doing stuff with him. It just wasn't, oh, we resurrected Frieza and he's not going to fight us anymore. No, he's still up to his old tricks. Goku's involvement in this movie was actually pretty fun, despite the fact that we don't highlight his Saiyan heritage and all that, but it was just so... Goku was in top form throughout all of this, just ready to throw down, ready to have some fun, but really seeing that Broly wasn't a bad person. He even tries to talk to Broly. It's just like, fighting's well and good, but I want you to have fun with this too. You seem like you're very adept and all that good stuff, but I would like you to be enjoying this as well, which gets through to Broly to a certain degree, and especially towards the end of things where Broly is back in exile. That little moment between the two of them where each getting to know Lemo and Chile and Broly, and it's just like, I want to come back and fight you. And even that ending moment where he's just like, I'm Son Goku, but you can call me Kakarot, which is just a nice nod to the fact that Broly in the original series had this animosity and would scream out Goku. Broly doesn't even really know too much who Goku even is here, which is the way it should be. Like, they were children. They wouldn't even know each other. You know, just because he's crying next to him, that's ridiculous. It was always ridiculous, and I'm glad we could finally put that to rest, because it was dumb. So dumb. Bulma was fun in this. Bulma's always fun, just tagging along just to help locate the last Dragon Ball, offering a few comments here and there, but I love the fact that her whole reason for collecting the Dragon Balls was to de-age herself by 5 years, because 10 years would have made it too obvious and make people think that she had plastic surgery, but if it's 5 years, it won't be too noticeable. But, like, considering how old she is now, I'm like, I was pretty sure you were already doing that, because you look like you're in your mid-20s, mid-30s at most. You don't look like a woman who's, I believe, in her 50s at this point. So I'm just like, yeah, no, you're full of shit, Bulma. I think you've been doing this for a while. But then anime characters, you know, once they reach a certain point, only then do they actually look like they're aging. You know, once she hit the Dragon Ball GT era, that's when she starts getting the wrinkles and all that good stuff, and then like another 10 years. So, you know, maybe we'll see that come into play later down the line. But Bulma always looks fantastic, you know. An early crush of mine. I always loved Bulma. I always thought she was beautiful. So, you know, you do you, Bulma. You know, you already don't look like a woman who's had 2 kids. So, but, you know, some people just have good genetics, and considering Bulma's mom, who still looks young as all shit, I don't think she has that much to really worry about. But Bulma was fun. But then there's Goten and Trunks, who, because they were in the promotional material, I thought they actually had actual involvement in this plot, but no, they were just there to say, hey mom, someone stole the Dragon Balls, and that was about it. No other involvement. Like, the damn, well, might as well have been like Pilaf, because Pilaf and the gang were standing off to the side during the course of that, and I don't even know if Goten even had any lines in this. Like, just age up or something already. You're on the cusp of it. Like, Trunks should be like 15 by now. It's, so many things about Goten and Trunks just put me off, and I want them to change it up and be more involved or do something with these characters. But then even Gohan doesn't get that much, so I'm not gonna hold my breath on any of that. Seeing little Raditz was so fun, because it's just like, man, Raditz, haven't thought about Raditz in a hot minute. When you gonna bring back Raditz? Because, like, man, Raditz just keeps getting the shaft and all things. It's like, it's Goku's brother. You think there would be more to him than that, or at least they would have even ran into each other in hell, or, you know, in the other world or something. But no, he gets this snarky little comment here and there, and actually seeing Raditz and Goku's parents just makes me wonder, like, why is Raditz the odd one out in this family? Because the rest of his family seems fine and nice enough people. Is one of the problems with this movie, because at least in the Bardock special, it's just like, yeah, I can see Raditz coming from that guy, but here it's just like, I don't know, this makes Raditz seem a little bit off. But seeing little Raditz was fun enough, and seeing the news delivered of what happened to Planet Vegeta was fun. Sorry, a little stuffed up. But again, Broly was so fun, his backstory, his character, but definitely his rage. Like, if this guy actually trained and developed his abilities a little bit more, he would be fierce And considering the fact that Goku wants to come back and train with him a little bit, I think, that he might actually end up growing as time goes on. I also love the fact that, something part of his backstory is even included on his clothing as well, with the pelt he wears around his waist being the ear of a former friend of his, an animal that, he got along with, only for Paragus to come in and shoot the ear off in order to enrage it and get Broly back into training and fighting, because no time for friends, Broly, you must train and grow and develop and all that good stuff. Which, just shows how much of a bastard Paragus ended up being. But this version of Broly very much embodies that gentle-seeming nature that he kind of showed off, in his initial appearance, when he was just regular base form. Because he's very soft-spoken. He's not, dumb by any stretch of the imagination, but he's very nice about certain things. The whole reason why he sticks with his father and even listens to him is, not just because of the shock necklace that he has, which makes a lot more sense than this device that, controls Broly in this weird way, that is the electronic shock, and it's just like for an enraged animal and all that good stuff. But Broly has respect for his father. When Chile asks him, it's just like, why do you stick with this guy? Because he's my father, and I should honor him, and you shouldn't talk bad about my father. And Broly just shows this depth of character that I just love, and really endeared me to this character more than anything else. Now, Piccolo's involvement here at first I thought was going to be completely pointless. Because, when Goku's getting his ass kicked by Broly, Piccolo hits him up and he's just like, yo, Goku, what the hell is going on? And Goku's just like, just stick around, I'll keep you in touch, just stay where you are. If I need to, I'll teleport to you so I can get somewhere safe. And Piccolo ends up teaching Goku and, Vegeta specifically, the fusion dance. So he actually does play a very nice little part in this movie, although he doesn't really get any action, which is unfortunate, but even he's just like, I don't think I'd be much help, if anything, if I actually went in and tried to do anything against this juggernaut. Now, Lemo and Chile, oh man, these were fun characters, and I'm glad they became kind of Broly's supporting friends for the most part, especially Chile. Chile, a fun character, very quirky, very perky. Her backstory where she was just a thief who stole a galactic patrol cruiser and joined the Frieza Force just to make it so that she wouldn't be messed with and all that good stuff, and the fact that Broly was so endeared to her character, and Lemo being like this old veteran soldier who, has no real battle power, but is good for scouting missions and stuff like that. And the fact that they had a bond despite the fact that they hadn't known each other for a long time. I can't not talk about Chile and the fact that she's become so fan servicey, because they were very much doing that on purpose, with the whole thing where she was showing Broly that the armor that they wear stretches, and she just opens up her top, and she's wearing that whole bodysuit thing, but it's just like, yo guys. And then there was the moment where they were on the ship serving the battle between Goku and Broly and all that good stuff, and you're pretty much zooming in on her ass, and it's just like, yo, what the hell, guys? Just, man, even Bulma wasn't getting that fan servicey. So, but she's very reminiscent of she feels like Android 18 in terms of her scrappiness and her spunk. Very nice character, and I love how she just acts as a compass for Broly's decisions in a lot of ways. His, getting Broly to talk more about himself and just exploring his character, just navigating him as a whole. So I feel like Chile was a very valuable character, and I hope to see more of both of them as we, hopefully go further in on Dragon Ball Super. And I can't talk about this without talking about Gogeta. Oh my god. The scene where Goku and Vegeta were trying to fuse was hilarious because, we got the mistakes and the fat Gogeta, skinny Gogeta, all that good stuff. But man, he was in top form, just going in, showing off the cockiness. It's all the stuff I want to see more of with Gotenks, but don't really get to see enough of. But here it was great, very much like in Fusion Reborn and all that good stuff. We even got to see the Soul Punisher or the Stardust Breaker, whatever it's called, as his attack, and he even whips out this other attack that just this rays of power and that just like explodes Broly and all this good stuff. Just man, he was a force of nature just rolling through on Broly. But the fact that it took them going that far into Gogeta Blue in order to take down Broly just shows how powerful Broly in and of himself was, because they don't like fusion and they've had to whip it out time and time again because their opponents have just been that powerful. And it was just fun to see this throwdown, a very awesome and just epic animation where I love that moment where Broly unleashes this blast and Gogeta just dodges it like it's nothing, and just so cool with the sash flowing in the wind. Just Metamorph Fusion just looks so awesome. But good stuff. He was so cool, so cool. I'm glad this character is now canon. Hopefully we'll see more fusions later down the line, because we're definitely be getting more, very strong characters later down the line as well. And just the battles, the fight, the throwdown. Just Broly was a juggernaut. He was a juggernaut. And just seeing Goku and Vegeta just going higher and higher in their power levels. Super Saiyan 2 and 3 have pretty much been eclipsed, but I've always felt that, especially 2, just felt kind of unnecessary, because it's just like, God form has pretty much replaced 2, and blue form has replaced going up to 3, because a little bit easier to handle. And it was just so fun, so interesting, so fascinating, just getting this greater depth for Broly, because he wasn't just this evil villain to be taken down, or this force of nature, this uncontrollable thing. He was just losing himself to the fight, and that's about it. And it took these 2 very powerful warriors to just get him to a point where he was able to fully get his power under control. And just little Goku and little Broly and little Vegeta, that was fun as well. It does keep the established thing where, Goku is the youngest of them, and whereas Broly and Vegeta were fairly older. And, the pods, a lot of people thought that, they were just straight up all babies in the pods, but, they grow their children to a certain amount and then let them out of the pods. So Vegeta could have been in the pods for quite some time before any of that really went down. But getting to see Vegeta's more disregarding opinion of how Planet Vegeta got destroyed, where his only real comment was, "Oh, I guess I'll never get to be king now." It's just like, dude, what the hell? And little Savage Broly was fun, very much like little Tarzan. And he, just the fact that he was so powerful. And I'm glad that his backstory was more that he was exiled, and not so much that King Vegeta tried to stab him. And King Vegeta's whole passion for Vegeta the Fourth, and how he didn't want a rival to his son, and how Vegeta ended up very much having these mixed opinions because he's pretty much okay with the rivalry now. But I feel that had he continued around his original path, he would have been fine with that. Not being able to believe in the fact that there was a character out there as powerful as Broly. Because we even saw it during the first appearance of Broly, where once he learned that Broly was the legendary Super Saiyan, he was just stunned and floored, and he wasn't ready to do anything against Broly. But here he was ready to throw down, even when Paragus called out the accusation of what King Vegeta had done. Vegeta the Fourth was just like, yeah, that was my father. That's not me. I have no beef with any of you people. He was very just easygoing about it, but he was more than willing to throw down with Broly, and he was even willing to destroy Broly once he went into his God form. And I was so happy to see his God form. We saw it in the manga and we never saw it in the anime, and it's established completely that he can go into his God form now, which makes sense. And it's this form that isn't as powerful as Blue, but it's a little bit better at conserving energy than Blue, so I like that aspect of things. And then there's little Goku. It was fun to see. It doesn't erase a lot when it comes to Goku to have him here, or to have even had that moment with his parents, because he ends up not even remembering any of that, more than likely because of the hit on the head. And Paragus was a son of a bitch. He was always a son of a bitch, but even here it's given a little bit more credence here. Whereas in the original, he was just going around controlling Broly with this grand, overblown design of tricking Vegeta and all this good stuff. Here it's just like, take my son and we're gonna kick Prince Vegeta's ass so I can have this, Fox vengeance. And the shot collar with Broly was called out. I'm glad they treated Broly a little bit like a victim more than an actual threat here, because that's the way he honestly should have been. If nothing else, without the King Vegeta trying to stab Broly, that eliminates any resentment that Broly would have even had, which, was directed at Goku even then. So Broly never cared about Vegeta. And even here, Broly is only attacking Vegeta on Paragus's orders. And, Paragus is just at a loss through most of this, because he's just like, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen. I wasn't able to fully control Broly and all that good stuff. And, ultimately Paragus meets his end with Frieza just wanting to get Broly to power up, remembering how Goku powered up once Krillin was killed. So Paragus meets his end in the most anticlimactic fashion, but it was just like, yeah, it makes sense, because with Paragus no longer around, Broly can live his own life. Had Paragus lived, he would have kept trying to come after Vegeta, so Paragus's death makes the most sense in the context of all of this. And it's actually kind of sad in its own right, because Paragus originally cared a lot for his son and all that good stuff. But he ended up being so fueled by the fact that King Vegeta was jealous of his son and didn't want his son threatened. And, we even see the darker side of Paragus, and the side that makes us a little less sympathetic, when he killed that one Saiyan who had come along with them. Well, was forced to come along with him, and was actually trying his best to help Paragus for the most part, and Paragus just up and killed him. And they were fine for the most part on that planet over the years. So it's just like, yo, you could have left that dude alive, but you killed him in order to try to survive. So it's just like, it was an unnecessary death, and Paragus just went through it thinking that, we need to keep as many rations as possible. No, you didn't. Broly was strong enough to take down anything on that planet. So Paragus, his death, honestly, even in the original, his death felt kind of like a joke, because Broly just grabs onto his pot and squeezes it and kills his father. I like this a little bit better where it's Frieza who does it, because it's just like, Frieza, oh, he's just killing them Saiyans, huh? So it's a very interesting way of going about Paragus, and I think this was a better highlight of Paragus as a whole. And Vegeta, oof. Vegeta was fun throughout the course of this. He had this nice action scene with Broly initially going after him and all that good stuff, and you know how Broly ended up powering up and all that good stuff, and just starting to get better as he fought Vegeta. So Vegeta, was in top form for the most part, but I feel like Goku really has shined the most in this movie, but Vegeta had no just limits on what he was able to do during the course of this. Vegeta was a lot of fun. Even calling out Goku on the fact that Frieza's out there running around, and it's just like, one day he's gonna come back and he's gonna try to do something. And Vegeta was very much right. But, that's Vegeta in a nutshell. It's just like, Vegeta shows a lot more care and a lot more thoughtfulness than he ever did before. So, Vegeta continues to just be the most growthful person in this series as a whole. Seeing Nappa, younger Nappa, was also a nice little thing to see. It's been a long time since we've actually seen Nappa in anything. So, it was a nice little moment. That whole flashback moment was nice with Nappa, Raditz, and Vegeta, and just a nice little aside. And that's the end of all of it. I mean, that's the most I could really talk about. I've talked ad nauseum about this whole movie. It was fun, it was action-packed, it had a good amount of heart, because half of this movie is the heart with the backstory, half of this movie is the action between Broly and the two other Saiyans. And it was fun. Not the greatest movie around, but one of the best Dragon Ball movies around. Under Battle of the Gods, but above Resurrection F. And I really hope the Dragon Ball Super series continues from here on out, because this movie has made buku bucks. This movie has just reignited a love for Dragon Ball that Toei needs to capitalize on as soon as possible. I am definitely buying this DVD once it comes out here in the States. But hey, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What was your favorite moment in the movie? How did you feel about the backstory? And, how a lot of the Bardock stuff was retconned. How did you feel about the changes to Broly and how his character actually has character now? How did you feel about Goku not being able to tap into Ultra Instinct, but he had that flash? That was cool. That was a nice little nod. But I like that they're still sticking to the fact that he can't fully go into it at will. That's I know people are a little miffed about that, but that's consistency there. And Goku wasn't trying to really harm Broly for the most part. A lot of this was self-defense. Speaking of which, I love the judo throws that Goku was doing in order to get Broly, but then Broly started whipping him around, very much like similar to the Hulk. But I also got to question the fact that they didn't see Broly and think about Kale, because we did have that flash where we saw Kefla, but that's to say all Saiyans look the same. So we finally seen the legendary Saiyan of Universe 7. I would love to see Broly and Kale go head to head, see how far that goes, or to see Kale continue to power up and become even more powerful. because the power that both Kale and Broly tap into, it is immense. And I love the fact that we see that, even without God power, some characters just get on that level just through their sheer potential alone. I was hoping that would have been Gohan, but who knows? You never know what Toei might choose, the direction they might choose further down the line. But if you liked what I had to say in this review, leave me a like. If you didn't like anything, feel free to leave me a dislike and tell me what I did wrong in the comment section below. And hey, how about subscribing? Because I'll definitely be bringing you more Dragon Ball Super content as it comes out. But until then, stay awesome and keep your guard up.